So these two articles that Andrew Benson produced on the day of Abu Dhabi 2021 both contain the same video. So as you scroll down here, we get presented with David Coulthard. This is the one on Max Verstappen wins title after last lap overtake of Hamilton, and it gives us Coulthard there. And this is the one Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, Max Verstappen win decided by a questionable call. And as we scroll down that one, we get Coulthard presented to us there. So let's play this through. And let's see what David Coulthard has to say. Let's see.
It was a huge sporting moment between two fantastic drivers and teams, and we wanted, all of us, to see it played out on the racetrack in a non-controversial way. But what looked like it was going to be a fairly textbook drive from lights out to checkered flag for Lewis Hamilton was turned on its head when we had Latifi crash his car, seemingly trying to overtake himself.
Andrew called it a seesaw of a race. Nobody else saw the seesawing, Andrew did. So we wanted to see it played out on the track.
It was the most silliest little incident that led to the safety car, and then
So Coulthard's questioning. Well, he's suspicious of the Latifi crash without saying it. We'll just go back through. We'll do this again. Actually, we'll go from the start and we'll break it down.
It was a huge sporting moment between two fantastic drivers and teams, and we wanted, all of us, to see it played out on the racetrack in a non-controversial way. But what looked...
We just wanted to see sport.
Like it was going to be a fairly textbook drive from...
One guy was smashing the other guy.
Lights out to checkered flag for Lewis Hamilton was turned on its head when we had Latifi crash his car, seemingly trying to overtake himself. It was the most silliest little incident that led...
Latifi seemingly trying to overtake himself. So at the start of that lap, you might not have been aware of this, David Coulthard, but at the start of that lap, race engineer for Nicholas Latifi told him it had to be this lap. And then Nicholas Latifi rounds turn 14 in third gear, when previously on other laps he'd been going around there in fourth, dumps the throttle, spins up the back wheels as he's steering, and the back end comes around on him. You would think that as a motor racing driver, you'd know that that's what happens when you put your car into a lower gear and dump the throttle. David Coulthard does know that. Hence, that's why he's just described Nicholas Latifi's driving in that manner.
Hamilton was turned on its head when we had Latifi crash his car, seemingly trying to overtake himself.
That's what racing drivers know about Nicholas Latifi's crash.
It was the most silliest little incident that led to the safety car, and then, as you've just described, a sequence of events that none of us have seen before.
A sequence of events that none of us have ever seen before. This is the end of the 10th full season where these rules and regulations have been in play with regard to when we use a safety car to deal with a safety incident. These are the procedures that we carry out. Oh, we've never seen it carried out like this before. Well, that's wrong then, isn't it? You can't suggest, oh, well, this is a new way of doing it that's completely changed the outcome. Well, that's completely wrong, isn't it?
And this is the interesting thing, isn't it? I guess, anyone new to the sport or perhaps hasn't watched it before will be baffled by the rules.
And we've got this presenter in the studio, the media mind conditioner. That's it. Everybody will be completely baffled by this. Nobody will be able to understand this, will we? We won't be able to understand everybody.
Rules. Do you think there needs to be a rule change here? Because it does seem strange.
Do you think the rules need to be changed? No, the rules have been fine for 10 years. We don't need to change them. There's this lad in the studio. What do you know about Formula One? But you're suggesting that the rules need to be changed?
And this is the interesting thing, isn't it? I guess, anyone new to the sport or perhaps hasn't watched it before will be baffled by the rules.
What if you're not new to the sport and you have watched it before and you know that it's a fraud? What about that?
Rules. Do you think there needs to be a rule change here? Because it does seem strange that Lewis Hamilton, who put in a brilliant race, a great performance, should be penalised losing out on the world title in this case because of the rules that were implemented at the end of that race.
It does seem strange, doesn't it? Let's investigate those rules. Let's investigate how they're implemented. Let's investigate who implemented them. There exists footage of race control. There are cameras in race control. There are at least 10 FIA personnel in race control, not just Michael Massey on his own. Shall we investigate that? What are those rules for? What can we prove the race control has implemented them rules for the purpose of? And what do all teams know? And why has it been done differently this time? And what has it caused? Instead, Tarquin in the studio wants to tell us, oh, maybe the rules should be changed. Is that right, Tarquin?
It's a
No, says David Coulthard.
highly complex sport.
Oh, it's just complicated. Oh, I don't know how to describe it. Let's just say it's complicated. Don't you worry your little head. Because that's what David Coulthard is paid to present.
Where you could argue because of...
Oh, but you could argue. It's complex, but you could argue. David Coulthard, a presented expert, being a former competitor in the sport and now a pundit and presenter of the sport. It's complex. I don't have the ability to explain this to you, but I'm put forward as having expertise of the sport. So what's it there for, David? What's the safety car for? Oh, it's to deal with safety incidents, yeah? So we can clear them up safely. Correct. Well done, David. Okay. What does it cause when the safety car is being selected to deal with the safety incident? Oh, it causes the neutralisation of racing. Racing stops. Sporting competition stops. The leader is captured by that safety car and all of the cars bunch up behind that leader. Yes, all of the gaps built up between all of the competitors are now wiped out. Once it's safe again, then we can take the safety car in, then we go racing again. Yes, but what if the leaders started lapping the cars? Oh, in that case, then we enact 48.12, and that is that the cars that the leader has lapped, which have now fallen well behind the cars they were challenging, because the cars they were challenging before the safety car was introduced into the situation, they've been enabled to disappear off around the track. Whilst the other cars that the leaders now lap, well, they've had to be held back. Well, that's skewed everything. So we have to carry out a procedure where we release those lapped cars, afford those cars at least one further lap of the safety car to give them the opportunity of catching the back of the pack. What that produces is a string of cars in the correct race order with all of the previously built up advantages wiped out. Racing has been neutralised. For all competitors, we achieve that restart condition that's applying sporting fairness to those competitors, and then we resume competition. Is that what you know it to be, David? Yes, you do, David. Why can't you tell people that, David? Why can't you tell people that? Oh, you're paid not to. You're paid not to. If you want to retain your position in the show, if you want to get an income off of this, if you don't want to get cancelled like Johnny Herbert ultimately was, you say this, David.
The technology that's involved, it's not a pure sport, where it's not just human endeavour.
Let's just say it's not a sport now.
In its purest form against each other.
It's highly complex. It's not a pure sport.
So you've got the performance of the car before the driver even gets in there. So there are so many rules that are constantly being clarified through the...
Oh, yeah, they seem to have applied the wrong rules. Yeah, but it's because that you've got a machine there, and so there's so many rules already because there's a machine. Thanks for the great explanation there, David.
The course of the season, that if anybody follows it closely, you'll know that...
And the rules about that are being clarified across the season. What? The technical regulations that govern the technicalities of the machine, yeah? Them, as opposed to the sporting regulations which govern the parameters under which competition takes place. Yeah, completely different things, aren't they, David?
There's always little tweaks to wing structures and technicalities of the cars. The regulation.
Yeah, because they can change what the definition of what's allowed with the wings of the car, that means that they can change the rules with regards to fairness to all competitors in terms of how the sport is carried out. Thanks for that, David.
And the sporting regulations are hugely complex as well. And
yeah, Martin, your mate Martin Brundle, he said that as well.
You're absolutely right that the sequence of events of only allowing 5 cars to overtake Lewis before the safety car came in is not something that typically has happened before. But
never.
The FIA do have another rule which allows the race director to override that.
No, that's not what it's there for, is it? And that's not what it does. All 15.3 does is say that the race director has overriding authority over the use of that safety car, meaning he can be the person that selects to use it, and he's got the overriding authority over selecting to use it. If he sees fit to use it, he has the authority to use it. That's what it means. He has the overriding authority to say, I'm going to deploy the safety car. Once he's deployed that safety car, he has to then adhere to those safety car regulations. The overriding factor that he has then is that he can override parts of that to prolong the use of that safety car on the grounds of safety and sporting fairness. So you have a set of procedures that you carry out once you elect to deploy the safety car. If you are enacting those procedures and you see that there is, for example, you're dealing with a safety incident, you think that it's dealt with, you enact the procedure, and midway through that procedure that you're enacting, you're unlapping the lapped cars, for example, you identify another safety concern, then what you do, you've got the overriding authority over the use of that safety car to keep the safety car lapping, to maintain that safe environment. That is what your overriding authority is. That is what 15.3 means. If, as demonstrated on 4 occasions by Michael Massey himself, you enact the procedure, do the unlapping procedure, and you see that those released cars have been left disadvantaged, you can prolong the use of that safety car on the ground of sporting fairness, restoring sporting fairness to those competitors by keeping the safety car lapping until those cars have fully caught the back of the pack, which Massey did in Spain 2019, Brazil 2019, Sakir 2020, Eiffel 2020. 4 times Michael Massey's done that. You can't freestyle the regulations. You can't not do the mandatory procedures. What's Coulthard, the expert, telling us? Oh, he's just peddling the same narrative, peddling the same reasons that this show concocted as part of its fraud. That's what he's doing. Peddling the same reasons that the show concocted to defraud everybody.
And make the decision he feels is correct. So it comes down to one individual. So
no, it doesn't come down to one individual. 10 people in race control. Beyond that, you've got stewards. And if something's got taken place that's wrong, the stewards can overturn it. Oh, they didn't. You've then got the governing body itself. And if they can see something that's gone wrong, and they have the power to overturn it as well, retrospectively. Oh, they didn't. It's just not one individual, is it? You've got commentators of the sport, all of the live media. They're lying that that's possible before it happened. They're telling you, will they let the lapped cars go? We don't think the regulation's mandatory, but that's normally on a wet day in Belgium. That's a lie. We've got all of the teams going along with the rules of the sport being broken. It's not one individual, is it, David?
There needs to be clarity going forward. We can't have...
Yes, there does. There does, but you keep lying to people, David. There's no clarity when the people there that can give the clarity are lying and conditioning people of falsehoods. There is no clarity when people have you that they believe to be authentic and you're lying to them. You are abusing people. You're an abuser. Do you have children, David? Do you have children? Would you find it acceptable that your children, believing in somebody who is presented to them as being an authentic source of information, and that individual is lying to your children, conditioning your children's minds of a falsehood? Would you find that acceptable, David Coulthard? Because I certainly don't. I would consider that person to be a corrupt perpetrator, a filthy scum criminal, a fraud, which is exactly what you are, David. Exactly what you are, harming other people's children and profiting from it. You corrupt scum.
Debates and Stuart
Debates.
having to look at this several hours after the checkered flag has fallen. It's unsavory, I think.
Unsavory. Yes, David. Yes, it is unsavory. And what you're doing is utterly filthy, you scum.
Overall, for everybody, on what has been a fantastic racing championship. The reality is that both
scum without a conscience. Absolute scum.
Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen deserve this title. Could they both be?
Oh, they both deserved it. Scum.
Exceptional. They've been better than the rest. Sadly, someone had to lose out, but it's just, I think, the manner in which it happened on the very last lap that will leave a lot of people disillusioned.
Hate won't win. Hate won't win. So, the sport perpetrates sport-wide a fraud. That fraud has left many people enraged due to the injustice, absolute injustice. What that has done has created conflict. Conflict between those who are outraged, that seek justice, and those that take pleasure from what has taken place. Causing hatred, fueling people abusing people in social media. And then you hide behind the banner saying hate won't win, and yet you fuel the hatred with your lies and with the fraud that you perpetrated. Oh, and you do your little podcast with your chum Eddie Jordan, don't you? Now taking money. You've got zero integrity, Coulthard. You're a scummy human being. Absolute scum. Absolute scum. So this is what is put in front of us as a supposed authentic source of information. You can go and play that yourself. You can listen to what he's saying. It's not authentic. It's not explaining the rules of the sport. It's, again, this is what happens. You can go back to Abu Dhabi. You can go through every form of media presentation about, oh, well, and this is what happened. And it's not what happened. It's not explaining the truth. It's not explaining the implications of those rules and regulations that are there for a purpose. You're getting presenters say, well, should we be changing the rules, everybody? It's difficult to understand this, isn't it? And people that should know what they're talking about, they do know what they're talking about. They know that it's wrong. And they're not saying anything. They're just taking the money. People are mercenaries in life. They will take money for doing things that are wrong. Doing things that are having a hugely negative impact. But that's the level of their morality. That's the level of their integrity. They take money and don't give a shit about the implications of their actions. That's the kind of human being you are, David Coulthard. Utter scum. But you're damaging other people's children. Utter scum. So I'm going to make it my business to show the world the type of human being that you are, and make it my business to ensure that anybody and everybody who has perpetrated the same crimes that you have gets exposed for such. There will be consequences. That'll do on this video. We shouldn't be tolerating this. It's people like this in this world, presenters having a harmful effect. These are the sort of people that people respect. People want to go and get David Coulthard's autograph. Yay, it's David Coulthard, the former driver. Oh, he's a popular celebrity, everybody. He's a knowledgeable person about Formula One. He's lying to your children. He's lying to your kids. He's conditioning their heads with falsehoods. That's having an impact on people's understanding, their values, and it's enabling fraud and corruption. Enabling the people that perpetrate the crime to get away with their crime, which has defrauded all of us. David's doing all right out of it. David's having a lovely time. Doesn't care about how he's impacting you or your family. Thanks for your time.